Okay, I'm Judy Hegenaur. I was on the city council for 4 years. It was an interesting experience. I'm not super interested in repeating it, but it was an interesting experience to know how a city works. We came to Solana Beach in 1970 and had always been interested in the environment, and there we were renting a house on the corner of Seabright and Rios with a lagoon in our backyard. And since we'd always been interested in environmental stuff and had done some parading in Ann Arbor, because there's always issues, right? And the backyard of that house, that first house, had the lagoon, the cliff that went down to the lagoon, and we were barely in the house, and I saw people dumping trash over the cliff. So who to call? This is way before, maybe there wasn't even town council at that point, which we were on later, but who to call? I ended up with Gemma Parks in my living room, and from there, never quite got away from those city experiences, but the environment remained our key focus, and we were on the city town council, like Joe and Marion. We were interested in going to city council meetings, and we eventually met lots of people. Jack was more enthusiastic about being a poster child for Solana Beach, but he went with Gemma, and Gemma took him by the hand, and then Margaret took him by the other hand and dragged him around town, and he learned how to do some sort of political stuff, and met Marion, met Joe, met all the people that were important at that time in Solana Beach. And the goal was to turn ourselves into a city. And we were getting screwed over, I'll have to say this, by the county. And we went down to the county many, many times, tried to, and our point on the agenda would have been moved off the agenda or moved later in the agenda. So we never got to speak up for Solana Beach because the county was running the show. At least that was our impression. So it just led to a community interest for both of us. Later on, as we had a city council, we were still doing environmental things, and the city allowed us to have a clean and green committee, and so that was important. It's still important. I think that all the little cities on the coastline have some of the similar issues. So when we would get together, we would have half a dozen people from Encinitas, half a dozen from Oceanside, Del Mar, and so forth would be coming to our clean and green meetings. We were not official in any way, but we were, I think, consulted quite a lot then because there were a lot of environmental issues. And keeping the beach clean, keeping the lagoons clean, all of those things were not officially done. They were done by volunteer folks who were concerned, and we were in that group of volunteers and remained in that group of volunteers, and I'm still in that group of volunteers. So, but it's important, and that's the part of me that needs to be involved in the community, is to keep the environment in front of our faces, because without that focus, I think we could get into quite a lot of trouble with our beaches and our lagoons and so forth. It needs to be managed, and the communities have jumped into that gap. Now there are some more official ways to organize that, but at the time, we were it. And it all started with somebody dumping trash off the end of the Rios into the lagoon. I hope they got caught, I really do. Yeah. So then time goes by, I was working, Jack was working, we were still involved with environmental things, mostly going into San Diego. They had a big group at that point. We had a big group. All the little cities had representatives, and we were working together to try to make sure that we had a clean face on ourselves, that we were doing all the things that we needed to do to keep the environment in the forefront. And the city was very helpful. They did not block any of that. At least if they did, I didn't know about it. But it was important to us that we keep that strong focus. I'd just say that. Then, gosh, work, and then we can't remember how this happened, but somehow Jewel and I were convinced that we needed to run for city council, and we both said, well, if you'll do it, I'll do it. And she said, well, if you'll do it, I'll do it. So that was in 2016. So we did, and it was a lot of fun. And I would say I'm not crazy about raising money, but other than that, I got to meet more people in Solana Beach and to really try to dig in and see what their interests, what their concerns were. You can't always do very much about it, but it's really good to know where people stand, and also how they got there. You know, what really moves you. And I would say that most of the people I met on the city, both the staff and council people, have a strong, strong commitment to the community. We all love Solana Beach. And how we got that way is various routes, but it's quite, I mean, you can feel it. If you're in one of those groups, I think you can tell that, yeah, I mean, I know Kelly, she feels it. And so those things are, to me, very important to a community. And it's our job as citizens to kind of ferret those folks out and see if we can get them to help do this job of keeping a good, clean city and, you know, promoting all the activities that a city does, the schools, all those things. You can get really involved. You can spend months and days and hours on meetings, but there's a moderate aspect, I think, there. So I'm happy to have served. Like I said, I probably wouldn't do it again, but it was a really good experience. And I met wonderful people. They're now good friends, and I wouldn't have otherwise. So to me, that's the benefit.